Hello world, what's your image of a small Japanese town? Is it peaceful? A place with beautiful nature? A strong community? Or is it depopulation? An area that's seen better days? A bunch of abandoned homes and abandoned fields? Really, it's all those things. Japanese towns are beautiful, but their population has aged tremendously and there are not enough young people to take over. It's with this backdrop that I introduce you to Wazuka, a town with 800 years of history producing green tea. How did it come to be that more than half of farmers are over the age of 65 and few of their children are taking over their farms?
この葉っぱ食べ柔らかいねで、おいしいねで。私はこの湯船で生まれてね、湯船の上村いうところから生まれてここへ5の生へ来てますねが、で一生湯船で。湯船に83年です。だいぶ変わったな。もう私ら純はこう長男の嫁に行かんなもんみたいに思って素敵だけども今はほれもうみんなお勤めしはるやろ。
うちでおやしてる10代目、それがまあ昔は家督相続で長男しか財産が分与できませんでした。自分のところも3人子供の時けどね、もう高校の時からねもうちょっと担任の先生に進学校に進まれたから出してもたんですわ。ほんでもう出したらもうあきまへんな。主人ら順やったら高校出るぐらいやったけど今もうみんなそれこそみんな大学でやはるさけ田舎に残らへんねんわ長男が。
若い人がねもう都会とか東京とか大阪とかに出てね家を継いでいく人がおられないのでね。
やっぱり農村っていうのは貧しいですよね。
まあ寂しいことやけどね。もうやっぱり採算の合わん仕事っていうのは誰でもしませんわね。お金が儲かってこそ仕事やりますので。
まあどうしても僕が生まれた都市の一番和塚町で人口が多くってそこからずっとまあ少なくなってきてるんですよね。
It turns out that around the world, green tea is more popular than ever, and there's never been more green tea produced than now. Despite this, Japanese tea production has dropped from 49,000 tons in 2004 to 41,000 tons in 2019. What's dropped even more is the tea price, from a peak of 2,000 yen per kilogram in 2004 to 1,200 yen per kilogram in 2019. Nowadays in Japan, there's less leaf tea consumed per household. That is to say, less home-brewed green tea. In contrast to this, spending on tea in Japan is at an all-time high. That's because much more money is being spent on tea beverage products like bottled green tea. Why is this? Well, young people don't brew nearly as much green tea as the older generation. And as the older generation passes away, the market for home-brewed green tea continues to decline. Even though spending on tea products is up, prices that farmers command have dropped 40%. Green tea leaf that you brew at home is of higher quality and accordingly more expensive. Bottled green tea, on the other hand, uses lower quality green tea and is much cheaper. Farmers simply can't make as much money as they could in the past given current tea drinking habits. So it's probably counterintuitive that revitalizing green tea farming in Wazuka would be a good idea. But that's exactly what Daiki-san and his co-founders, which include his wife, his younger brother, and a family friend, are trying to do with their startup, Tea Matcha.
名前は赤ひろきと言います。僕は沖縄出身でわずかに、来てお茶を D 抹茶で作ってます。一応農業をしたいっていう前提でいろいろ探したんですけど、日本らしい日本独特のものを海外にこう発信していければ後々強みになるかなという話がありまして。
The reason why we came here is a tea farming. Tea production history of this region has more than 800 years. The soil is very good for the tea, and also the landscape and the gap of the temperature at noon and the night is very huge, so that creates really nice tea historically. So we want to make this a production site like a wine production site like Burgundy, because as you see it's a mountainside and a very small region, so it's not become big farming and a machinery farming, so more like a labor intensive. So we want to focus on more quality side.
もともと何か土地を持っておられたら視覚的に後継者があってっていうことでこう農業しやすいですが、初めてねお茶をされるわけですので、何のノウハウもないので大変やったと思うんですけどね。
So like at the start, we worked for big farmers as apprentice, and then finally 2 years passed, we got some field to produce, and everyone watching how we are doing. So once we are working hard for the customers, working hard for the tea field, and little by little we can get a trust. And then now, like our field is becoming to the 3 hectares. We got a field from the 5 elder farmers who now quit the tea farming.
でも非常に勉強熱心な方々で、私たちよりも非常に奥深く知っておられますので、和塚町としては本当に町内の方よりも移住されてこられた方が非常に頑張っておられるっていうのが非常に目立ちますね。頑張って和塚町をまちづくり活性化していこうというね、そういうね感じの方が非常にたくさんいらっしゃいます。
If you're currently thinking that locals were super enthusiastic about new faces coming to town to help revitalize it, it wasn't as simple as that.
昔はもう絶対にね自分の村を守っていかんな、町を守っていかんないうのでね、絶対外からは入ってもらったらこの部落が続けるいうのでね。
For example, like the flat field, it took two years after I started to talk to purchase.
昔はわしらの世代はやっぱりもうそ15の人を大事にして他所から入る人をシャットアウトみたいなであったんですよ。
今まではそんなあんまり地域としては歓迎しないっていうのかね、田舎の習性っていうのか、排他的っていうのかね、あんまり入ってほしくないと。
最初はやっぱり新参者、ストレンジャーだったので、とても苦労もありました。やっぱり、地元の方からすごく非難されることもありましたし、
結構難しい。especially その人のところ、person thing is very tough. Sometimes I got they get angry with me とか。でもいい人たちですよ。They are good guys.
These small communities have had to rely on each other to survive. Everyone is connected, and one person's actions will affect the rest. There are community things to do, like getting together once or twice a month to clean the shrine, or being a volunteer firefighter, since there's no local fire station. So you need to trust that your neighbors got your back. Traditionally, land was passed on from generation to generation, and new people came in through marriage. But their descendants have left town and aren't coming back. So the population has declined from a peak of 7,600 in 1955 to 3,500 now. So in order to keep the town alive, something has to change. But it's hard to accept that your kids aren't coming back. And I say kids, but these are people in their 50s or 60s. And even if there are abandoned homes or fields, do you want to be the person that brought in an outsider and broke the harmony of the village? Do you want to be the person who sold off the land that's been in the family for generations?
But like for elders here is like they really like this region, but like at the same time the changing new things and also trying to new things is like a very tough for them.
昔からわずかにいるものはやはり保守的っていうか守りが固いけども新たな挑戦っていうのはなかなかね。
They want to keep this history. So like for me, by getting their trust and then getting their support, I want to fit my goal and then their wants and needs to align the goal for the future.
徐々に私たちのことを理解してもらえたのかなって。やっぱり一番大事なのは一生懸命やること、誠実にやることで、勤勉にやること、ディリジェントにねやることっていうその姿勢を見せることが認められる一歩だったのかなとも思います。
3つぐらいな。ほんでこうやって、ほんでこれをよじるわけ、こういうふうに。それでこう持ちやろ。でこうひっくり返してここでグッと締めんねんな。そしたらここへ入るようにね 能率ようなね。難しいやろ。難しいよ。何年もしてるもん。もうかれこれ60年してるや。
This rice paddy is just between our tea field, and from last year, the farmers here became over 80s. So, like he said, it's difficult to continue. So he stopped to farming last year. So we asked him to succeed this rice farming, but we cannot do by ourselves. So he's very kind to teach us, and we learn and also do the rice farming from this year.
It does take a bit of time, like especially to build trust. I think because like the villages are very close knit. So, but as long as you are earnest in your work and you show like a kind of commitment towards not just like earning a profit from farming, but as well as like helping the village develop on a larger scale, I think that in that sense it kind of translates over to the older people. So yeah, you have to farm with heart, as cliche as that sounds, but I guess anywhere you go, like with younger people coming in who might not be so familiar with like the certain traditions or routines of that particular place, you yourself have to take time to kind of learn and adapt to them. Yeah.
もっと体勢ちゃんとしちゃうんだ。絶対失敗する。失敗するあかん。
どうしたらいいですか。
まあ直感もう一回入れて失敗したらもう抜くことこんなん。ほんであれを抜くわ。はい。はい。大変やでこれから。
確かに。
それ田植え長靴か？
いや、これ普通長靴です。
田植え長靴履いてきゃなあかんわ。荒いこと。慎重にゆっくり滑り落とす。
いいですか？
オッケーオッケー。
オッケー。はい。こんな感じですか？はい。
そう。
都会から来てくれて、またここでお茶を作り、僕田植えはしたことないんですけど、田植えもしてるというのもすごいな、パワフルやなと思いながら感心して見てるところなんですけどね。
We Japanese are facing the super aging society. So by making a sustainable region, including great landscape and culture, the succeeding culture, we want to make one good example for the future, not only in Japan but also other countries. That's why we want to challenge a lot of things, and that's my enjoyment. Yes.
Making a good example is actually why you're seeing this video today. The reason my sister-in-law and I could film several times over the air is because of funding from the Japanese government, which is working in collaboration with D-Matcha to transition tea farming into a sustainable business moving forward. Part of that goal is that knowledge generated here can be used to help farmers in other areas around Kyoto, Japan, and the world. So what's the plan? How are they going to revitalize this small town?
What I'm thinking is, like you see the brown building, right? And then we will make our new store next to the flat field and also the factory, and then get together of two buildings, and then we will move here.
Right, so D-Matcha currently runs a cafe that's located in the center of Wazuka. Daiki is planning on moving his cafe and headquarters to this part of Wazuka called Yubine, which currently has 130 households. Yubine is a lot tighter and compact, so it's easier to group all their buildings and many of their tea fields close together.
And also we are planning to make the big open bus for the onsen things, and in the bushes, the places. And then we will make like a barbecue and an open terrace place. And then also there is like a old abandoned house there in our tea field. And we will make that one's vacation rentals by renovating that building. So all the buildings we will of course put the solar. So almost 100% energy we will create by ourselves. So almost all field here are organic.
At this point, you might be thinking, wait a second, I thought D-Matcha was producing tea. What's with the cafe, onsen, and vacation rental? And they're also harvesting rice? Yeah, but it doesn't stop there. There are guided tours of the fields, tea tastings, a Japanese green tea textbook that Daiki wrote, a green tea business school, green tea desserts, confectionaries and goods, pop-up shops in Kyoto and Tokyo, online orders, internships by both Japanese and international people, a yuzu field, and Daiki's even thinking about getting a hunting license to hunt wild boar and deer, as there's currently an overpopulation of both, and they damage the environment and crops.
Now there are so many deer, but 90% of deer was just like killed and then throw it away. So like we want to make as some value for the meat.
So there's a lot of things in the works, and you can kind of appreciate why initially some of the locals might have been like, hold up, take it easy, Daiki.
If I carry out the plant too quickly, like the other residents think it's like too fast, or like they really not uncomfortable. So like I need to communicate with them very carefully, little by little, to carry out the plan is very important. I really would like to keep the history or culture which people who lived here to succeed, but like just doing that thing is not enough. So by combining with a business, especially like the connecting with the world internationally, and also invite a lot of young people. By doing that, I want to connect with the history and the culture and the new things. That's one of the plans to do that.
The average farmer harvests tea, brings it to the factory for processing, and then distributors take it from there. But if you look at local trends, it's easy to see how following this same path will be more and more precarious going forward. I didn't quite understand why Dimacha was trying to do so much until I started to read the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries' current outlook of Japanese tea report, which is a mouthful. And what I learned is that while green tea isn't doing well domestically, exports to the world has been increasing drastically. And instead of tea prices getting lower, like in Japan, they've actually been increasing. Organic tea is also on the rise, with 84% of the tea EU imports being organic. So here's the thing, Wazuka actually produces 40% of Uji tea, which is the most famous tea region in Japan. Wazuka has a deep history of producing great green tea. It's also very hilly, and thus producing green tea is labor intensive. It's not conducive to large-scale commercial farming like can be done in Kagoshima, which is experimenting with robotic tea harvesters. It only makes sense that if you're in a premium green tea producing area, that you try and sell to the most promising premium green tea market, which is overseas. So part of accomplishing this is attracting young people and an international audience.
By making a touch point through the sightseeing, people are interested in tea or like Japanese villages. Most of our employees actually as one of our customers before, and then they are interested in this region and then become a member of our company. We are the kind of hub between the countryside and also the international and young people.
4年ちょうど4年前にお客さんとして畑のツアーを参加して家族と、はい、お茶の美味しさに感動したりとかしてちょうど就職活動をしていた時なんでその日にちょっとここで働きたいなと思って。
Obviously, it's not a very glamorous job or lifestyle. You have to get dirty, but I think there are a lot of hidden rewards.
これはどうかな。さっきよりいいけど取れたいよ。これも取れ。
What I found interesting was that all staff, no matter their role, also worked in the fields as well. Not only that, they were very involved in creating new products and coming up with different ways to promote the region and the tea it produces.
自分のやりたいことがすぐにさせてもらえるので、そういった点ではすごいやりがいを感じます。
もう今はその一から自分たちで例えば昨日もお米を作ったりしましたけど、したものを自分たちの手で販売していく過程を伝えるプロセスをお伝えしていくっていう日本語の文化をお伝えしていくってことはすごくやっていて楽しいなとは思ってます。モダンな感じのスタイルのお茶農家になっていけたらいいなっていうのは思ってます。
こんなことをしたいっていうやっぱり意欲があって来られてる方っていうのは私たちが持ってないような新たな気づきであったり、こうしたらわずかのお茶をもっと国内外に発信できるっていう感じでね思っておられるんじゃないかなと思いますね。
もう今はやっぱり入ってもらわんかったらもう村が滅亡する感じやね。
たまたま今の時代にマッチしてるっていうのかね、なかなかこの農業で採算合わせていこうっていうのは生活していこうものは難しいよね。ただ田中君は我々も監視してるのはここらの農家はお茶を作って 問屋さんへ納めてそれで生計を営んでてんけど、この人らはそういう問屋なしに直接販売するとか今の時代にマッチしたやり方でね、海外まで手広げてやってくれんねんから、彼らは自分らで製品にして海外まで売るっていうのは一つの別のルートを開発してやってんねんから立派や思いますけどね。
こうして田中君らみたいにしてくれはる人できたさかいねよかったけど、もうほんまやったら荒らしてしまわなんとこやったのにね、よかったですわ。
ほんで大工さんもあこで住むとか言うてくれてるからものすごく歓迎してます。
もうやっぱりその過疎化になったら嫌ですしね。それからもう少しでももう年寄りが高齢者が協力させてもらえることがあったら協力させていただこうと思ってね、うちの家も集まってもらったり、そこ行ってね、また食事を作って自分の好きなものを作ってね、みんな持ち寄って食べてください言うてね、外から入ってきてもうた人を大事にしてここで永住してもらうようにね。
私はすごくその田舎出身だから田舎で暮らすことが私の夢だったんですよ。で私の子供も今もうすぐ3歳ですけど田舎で子育てができることがすごく嬉しいんですよ。
でやっぱ住んでみてあれなんですけど、やっぱ結構みんないい人ばっかりで、お茶なしにしてもやっぱその人柄だったりなんだったりですごい自然も豊かですし景色も綺麗な場所なんで。衰退していくっていうことに関して言うとやっぱりちょっと寂しいんで、何としてもこう盛り上げてやっていきたいなというふうには思ってます。
As I mentioned earlier, this video was sponsored by D-Matcha and the Japanese government as part of a small town revitalization project. The reason I took on this project was because I was given free rein to talk about what I wanted to. So up until this point, what you saw was my edit, my video. Because one of the keys to revitalization is to have a sustainable, profitable business, here's some things Daiki wanted me to mention about D-Matcha, and specifically their online store. First off, he's provided a coupon code to get a 10% discount for an online order. I've put that link in the description. One thing you can order is single origin tea. That means the tea comes from a single field, so you know exactly where the tea comes from, the date it was harvested, the cultivar, and how it was produced, like pesticide-free and how many days shaded. Another is a big selection of confectionaries. Something I found intriguing is that if you like making sweets or baked goods, you can get matcha to make your own. I personally got matcha to specifically make matcha lattes. There's also a tea subscription service and an Adopt a Tree program. Currently, like the residents, a lot of tea fields are getting up there in age and need to be replanted. To be clear, the tea fields get replanted after 40, 50, or 60 years, not the residents. But yeah, you can support the effort by adopting a tea tree. Basically, what Daiki wants to say is that he'd like you to come visit Wazuka and have fun, learning about green tea, drinking green tea, and eating green tea. And after you go, you can still enjoy the experience online. Or vice versa, you can go online first. I don't think he minds. And now I can thank my Patreon supporters who help me make videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace. What are revitalization efforts like where you're from?